Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. And welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss the steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to new heights, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today, we'll be discussing how to hire better. So when you think about hiring, there's just so many different processes of hiring. And as I coach different businesses and I ask them how they hire, unfortunately, a lot of the trades, we're still hiring the same old way that we did 20 years ago. And guess what? That doesn't work anymore. So I'm just going to lay out 4 or 5 ways to improve our hiring process. And we definitely need a process for hiring because it's just a whole new world. Number one, we know it's extremely hard to find people. Everyone I talk to, no matter what part of the United States, everyone has a challenge finding good people. And then they also have a challenge keeping good people. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that today. But number one is you need to know who you are and what you want to be as a company. Now, I often say you need to know what you want to do when you grow up, okay? As a company, you need to know what you want to do. Who are you? What do you stand for? What's your culture? What's your culture look like? We have our own culture. Every company has a culture. And we also have the McAfee Way. And I think I spent a whole podcast talking about the McAfee Way. It's on a card. It's just a simple 6 words, very simple, that really describes the McAfee Way. And it's a very strong portion of our culture. And the McAfee Way, it has to do with integrity, caring, consistency, innovation, team, and culture. So we maintain integrity, we take care of people, we demonstrate a culture that strives for perfection. In other words, we try to do things right the first time. We give consistency to everyone, our customers, our suppliers, and our employees. And we're very innovative, growing and learning, always trying to stay ahead of the competition, which I love to do. And we just make wise decisions as a team. I keep people informed. I ask a lot of questions, from our part-time driver all the way up to our VP of operations. I want to know what you think. I want to know if you have any ideas on how we can improve anything. I'm constantly asking questions about concerning that. So it's very important rather to know who you are and what you want to be as a company. And it starts with your culture. So you can't hire anyone if you don't know your culture. You can't hire anyone who's going to be great and stick in your company if you don't know your culture. Does that make sense? Because you've got to know who you are in order to hire someone who fits in your company. And so you also need to know your image. Image is very important in my company. Image is everything. It's who we are. It's what we do from our 30,000 square foot facility to what it looks like inside our facility. From our sheet metal shop to our receiving and shipping area to our offices in the warehouse to our customer service area with our sit-stand desks to my office, to the front entryway, all the way across the board to our parking lot. Just had our parking lot completely redone this year. Been in this building 6 years. It was built in 1996, original parking lot, and I just had it all tore out and redone. Could I have got by with just continuing to just coat it? Probably, but image is everything. I had the money. I had it done. Just got a new roof. Nobody sees the roof, but it needed a new roof. We had plenty of leaks in here. It's a flat roof. Used to have the rubber with the hundreds of tons of, probably thousands of tons of gravel on top of it. I don't know whose idea that was. But anyway, we just got a new roof last year. New parking lot this year. Keeping things up is very important to me. Maintaining things, very important to me. Then you've got to look at our trucks. You got to look what they look like. Just having them all, we just designed, hired a new company, partnered with a new company, I should say, who's handling all our creative, marketing, advertising, branding. And we just designed a new look, a new logo and a new look, and we're having all our trucks wrapped. Big investment. Now let's look at our team. Look at our team on the inside. We've got expectations on how we dress in our office. We've definitely got expectations on how we dress out in the field. We've got some really nice uniforms, but I'll talk about this in a minute on how we wear our uniforms. That's important. It's important to me. It's important. It's our image. It's what we do. I can't hire anyone who's going to be successful here and stick if I don't know my image and and they can't fit into my image. That's very important. So we just don't hire anyone. So you've got the culture, you've got your image, and then you just basically need to know what you stand for. I mean, why are you in business and what do you stand for? You'll stand for something or you'll what? Fall for anything. So, what we stand for is going to be what I read off that card, high integrity, excellence. We care for people. We're very innovative. We're very team-oriented. You've got to stand for something or you don't know who to bring on your team, because if you hire people who don't stand for anything and you stand for a lot, it's not going to be a good fit. Okay? Does that make sense? And that's why so many people have problems hiring people. Number one, you've got to find the people. Then you got to find the right people. But you don't know if they're the right people because you don't know who you are and what you want to be as a company. And that's very important that we do, all of us. Okay, then we've got, where are we looking? Where are we looking for people? I'm asked every day, where do you find people? Well, there are many online sites that you can just place one ad and one particular I can think of just drops it in every format, every avenue, every website for job classification. Just drops it everywhere, and that's pretty cool. I don't know how that works, but it works, and that's getting your getting your job classification out there that you're actually hiring. Yeah, that's a great thing to do. But you also, we also need to visit high schools. We need to visit trade schools. We need to speak at certain events. We need to have our team at certain job shows. We've got to be out there wherever someone's interested in visiting for a job. We've got to be here and be there rather. And we've also got to be on social media. Even if it's on your personal Facebook page or Twitter or whatever it is, you've got to let people know you're hiring and what you're looking for, because you never know who's going to read it that says, my son is in HVAC and he's looking for a career change. I'm going to tell him you're hiring, or my husband or my brother or my friend or whoever, my sister, whoever. So you got to get the word out there. And you've got to try different. You got to be creative. The old days of just putting an ad in the newspaper and people applying, it just doesn't work anymore. Doesn't work around here anyway. Doesn't work for anyone I coach anyway. But I'm sure it still works somewhere. And there are a lot of challenges today. I've been told that we have a lot of people applying for jobs, setting the interview schedule. They're on the schedule to be interviewed, and then they don't show. And I'll be honest with you, for a while I thought it was me. And then I had our state auditor in. He's running for office again. He visited me, and I was talking to him, and he brought up the subject. he said, hey, do you guys have many no-shows for your recruiting interview process? I was like, yes. Why? He goes, you're not the only one. It's everywhere. He said, everywhere I go, that's a big challenge. Our no-shows. You schedule them to come in and they no-show. They don't call you. They don't tell you. They just no-show. And I said, so what's up with that? And he said, well, they can't remain on, number one, they can't remain on unemployment, of course, if they get a job. And number two, they can't get special funding if they get hired. All they have to do is say they spoke with a company and they didn't get hired and they continue to get funding. And he goes, it's going on everywhere. And it's 2021, and I can probably tell you why this is going on, but I won't get political right now. So that's a big challenge for everyone. People not showing up for interviews. And we just got to find, you've got to be creative. We also want to talk about the interview process. Very, very important. And I actually meant to bring our handbook in here. It's a pretty thick handbook. It's on a ring. We don't hand the handbook out to every employee. We have about 4 or 5 copies within our company in different stations. And if you need to read the handbook, it's available to read. It's laminated, and you just put it back where it goes. If you need it, got a question about what we do or how we do it, you can get the handbook out, find it. But we don't hand it out to everyone. Years and years ago, we used to hand one out to everyone, and then they'd get lost, and it ended up in another company's hands. And I'm sure it could still get in another company's hands, and I'm sure they're out there asking for them when they hire someone from us or who used to work here. But I'd just rather keep them in-house now, and anytime an employee wants to look at one, they're available to read. But anyway, the interview process, first of all, you've got, for McAfee, I'm just going to talk about McAfee, and this is what I teach. This is what I train. You got the phone interview, which is what we call the pre-employment screening. We're screening them over the phone to see if they're a good fit to even take up our time or their time to come in here. So, first of all, if they, we actually call them and set up the time for a phone interview. So if we call them and they're not ready, then we'll just figure it wasn't a good fit. And then if we do get a hold of them, we're going to ask them certain questions, just simple questions of, where did they work last? How long have they been unemployed? Or if they're still working, how long have they worked there? That would be a positive thing, by the way, if they're still working. But everybody does get laid off or lose jobs. So we just want to know, if they've been unemployed for, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, probably not a good thing. Probably won't last here, or they won't show up for the interview, the live interview. So that's what you've got is pre-employment. How many days did you miss last year? A pre-employment screening. You can ask, how many days did you miss last year? And, how many days were you tardy? All those types of things. We're looking for a certain number. 0's the best number. Because we just have, at McAfee, we just have a very low number of people late and calling off. So it's not the norm here. It starts at the top and trickles down. I have some people that's been here close to 14 years, and other than having a baby and being off for maternity leave, I don't think she's ever missed a day. And it starts at the top and trickles down. That's just what I'll say. So they go from the phone interview to a live interview, second person, different person than who did the phone interview, preferably. And then they ask a series of questions, and if they like that person, then they'll more than likely. It's rare. They could get it. We could make an offer right there. It just depends on the position. But more than likely, it might go to a live third interview with another person interviewing or two. And at that point, we would probably ask them, if we make you an offer, are you ready to accept? And if they say yes, then we will move forward with a written offer. Now, if they say, well, I've got to sleep on it, then we're probably just going to give them a verbal offer. I'm not going to hand them something to take with them. We'll just give them a verbal offer. This is what we're looking at. This is the rate of pay, and you're going to get this many PTOs and blah blah blah. It's just a verbal. If that interests you, go home, talk to your spouse, whoever, think about it, let us know. But I'm not going to hand them an offer to take home with them. I just don't do that. I don't like to do that. If they're ready to make an offer today, right now, we will present the offer, and then they can sign it. If we get that far and they still say, I want to go home, then we'll keep the offer. They've seen it, they know what it is, and they can think about it and get back with us. So we also may, if there's 3 different people interviewing or 4 or 5 different people interviewing, depending on the position, then we will discuss among ourselves on what you think. Here are pros and cons. We'll also, I think it's very few people call previous employers, and I just wish they would. Sometimes people leave here. I just wish I'd give anything if someone would call me and say, I'm calling on so-and-so, would you rehire them? That's just a great question. It's a legal question. Would you rehire them? I'll tell you, when I call someone and they say no, probably a pretty good chance I won't hire them. Why wouldn't you hire them back? Did they leave on good terms? No, they didn't. So many people that have left McAfee for multiple reasons, whether they were asked to leave or left on their own, so many people get hired because of just who we are, our reputation. All you got to do is go out there and say, I worked for McAfee for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. You're going to get hired because everyone knows McAfee trains well. They do it right. Top-notch organization. That's just the reputation we have. So very few people get a very long interview. You've worked at McAfee. You've got a pulse. We're putting you in a truck tomorrow. We're putting you at a desk tomorrow. We're putting you in a management position tomorrow. It is what it is, but boy, you don't really know why they left here, folks. If they were that good, they might still be here. I don't know. Just saying. So definitely worth calling previous employers. Definitely worth calling employment references. Not friends, not family. Employment references. I worked for John for 3 years. He was my supervisor. I'm using him as a reference. You better believe we're going to call him. Or I worked with Mary. She wasn't my supervisor, but I worked with her for 2 years. You better believe we're going to call her. Okay? Mary, if you had an opportunity, your own business, would you hire this person? Yes or no, and why? Okay. But so many people don't call previous employers and they don't call employment references or any reference. But let's face it, folks. If you call a parent to get a reference on their son or daughter, what do you think they're going to do? Talk bad about them or something? Or if you call a friend, are the friends going to talk bad about them and tell them don't hire? I mean, we have had that happen, but it's extremely rare. Okay. So use that to your advantage. I mean, if you're going through people fast and you're not doing these things, this can definitely help you retain people rather. And I just call it stickability. They've got to be able to stick. All right, and then ask specific questions. Don't Google questions to ask during an interview because a lot of these people are professionally trained to answer those questions, and it sounds wonderful. Ask specific questions. Tell me about a time when you had a problem in this area and how did you handle it? And take your time, because I want specifics. If you can come up with the job name or the job, what street it was on, or what kind of unit you installed, or who you were working for, or any of that specific. I want specifics. Tell me about a time when this happened and how'd you handle it. You can't really plan for those. You can't pre-plan for those kind of questions. And then ending with, when I interview, my last question is, why should we hire you? Number one, why should we hire you? And number two, do you have any questions for me? So the why should I hire you, you can plan for that, and it could be really, really well said, but I'm looking for specific things. I'm just looking for honesty, where I'm going to come in here and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to dedicate myself, and I'm going to grow with you, and I'm going to be your best technician. Don't tell me you want my job. That doesn't get you any bonus points. However, do you have any questions for me? This is very important, because if they say, I don't think so, that's not a good answer. But if they say, what does it take to be successful here? What kind of person works here now that is very successful here? Bam. Excellent question. Excellent question. And then I will I will give them that answer, and then I will follow up with, do you think or feel you are that type of person? That's powerful, folks. That's a great way to end. And then, of course, you need to do drug testing, which very few people do. And of course, you need to do a background check, which very few people do. And you need a background check that at least goes back 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, pretty fair. I mean, anything happened 11 or 12 or 15 or 20 years ago, hopefully you got it out of your system, and it's old stuff, and everyone makes mistakes, and we're moving forward, okay? So those are, during the interview process, very important. And then set expectations from the beginning. And we set expectations from the inside the interview process. So even during the interview, you can start giving people the expectation of what it's like to work here. We expect our people to be here every day, and we expect them to be on time. And I didn't just make that up. That is definitely one of ours, okay? Very important. Someone told me the other day that there was a person working for another company, and they were told they would work 32 hours a week, and they went through a couple days of busyness, and they worked something like 20 hours in 2 days. And they went to their supervisor and asked, does that mean I only have to work 12 hours the rest of the week? No, you're on the schedule to work. You know, we only want you to work 32 hours, but we had 2 busy days. Now you're going to continue to work, and you might end up getting 40 plus hours, but that's the way it goes. But it just amazes me, you know, just work. What happened to work? Just work. We expect our team to wear a uniform and wear it a certain way. Yes, we have a certain way to wear our uniform. Our uniforms must be clean and pressed. We have a uniform company that does all that. If you use them, and you have to wear a belt, you have to wear work shoes. You have to wear, if you wear a t-shirt under your shirt, it has to be a certain color. You can only wear a McAfee hat, a McAfee logoed hat. All of this stuff's just very important for professionalism, and going back to image matters. Everything matters. So we expect you to make mistakes. You ever heard that one before? We expect you to make mistakes. If you're not making things happen, you're not going to make a mistake. And that's how you learn. So when you come into McAfee, we're expecting you to make mistakes. You're not going to get fired for making a mistake. Now, if you continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, it's going to be a different story. But we've had new technicians come in and, burn up, $500, $800 circuit boards. Okay, don't do it again. You learned what caused that. Don't do it again. We had an office person, manager, wipe out our database at one time several years ago. Actually, it wasn't that big of a database because it's several years ago, but she wiped out the entire database, and she was in tears. She was so upset. And I said, you know what? We'll start over. We'll fix it. We'll make it happen. I mean, what can we do? Don't do it again. So we expect people to make mistakes, and we also expect people to ask questions. Many questions. That's how we learn. If they're not asking questions, they're not learning. So we love questions. So all this is shared during an interview, during the interview process. So we're setting the expectation. And we can tell when we're interviewing that person who really enjoys what they hear. I like that. Well, that's me. I like that. Yeah, that's orderly. I like that. But if you get that far away look, deer in the headlight look, probably not a good fit. Probably not a good fit for here. And by the way, folks, sometimes when we hire people and they're just not getting it, we've done everything possible. We tell them there's probably going to be another heating and air conditioning company that you do fit in. But unfortunately, you're not fitting in here. I mean, you're going to fit in there, but it's just our expectations just a little bit higher than most. And we apologize. We like you, but it's not going to work out. Also, setting expectations. We let them know about our training process and that they'll be trained. Even if they have experience, they're going to be trained the McAfee way. We're going to go through a process. It could be a 2 to 4 week training process, or it could be a 6 month to a year training process. It depends on what position they're filling or holding, or so it just depends. But definitely there will be a training process, and the McAfee way of doing things is definitely part of it, and there will actually be a schedule for training. We never used to do that, but boy, it makes it a lot easier when you have a schedule for training. The new employee knows what to expect and when to be trained on what and when to learn, basically. And also, we let them know when we start you out at this amount, but we also have, especially out in the field, we have tier ratings. So, it'll go somewhere from 1 to 5 tier. Starting off in 1, you make this amount. Learning, filling out the tiers. So your supervisor will fill out the tier sheets to where all this, so you earn this. Then you go to tier 2 and you learn all this and you earn this, and you know exactly where you're at. Not only what to learn, but how much you're going to make. So it could be, if I just make something up, it could be starting off at $14 an hour and going to $30 plus, in tier 5. So you have an idea, when I get to tier 5, this is what I'm going to make. And we give increases based on skill and attitude, performance and attitude. We also, we might say during the interview process, we might say this is how we wash trucks. We expect our trucks to stay clean. We might not get into too much detail on the how, but we let them know we wash our trucks this many times a week. We might say we keep inventory, and it's required for you to keep inventory, and this is how we do it. And we might say we will give you a phone. We will issue a phone, issue a tablet, and we expect this, this, and this. And then we talk about the handbook, and the handbook's got everything else in it. So one more thing I'll end with here is going a little long today. I typically keep it around 30 minutes, but been talking a lot here, I guess. Very interesting stuff for me. As I write this stuff out, I'm like, this is just good stuff because I get asked a lot of this, and so I put it all in one segment. I hope it helps you as much as it helps me. Just good to review anyway. But here's something new that I'll share that we just learned. It's not rocket science, but we just learned it, and it's something that we will continue to do. List some key people who have left your company. So get together in your little leadership team or your big leadership team, whatever it is. List key people who left your company. It doesn't matter why they left. They could have left on their own, or you could have made them leave. It doesn't matter. I want the key people. And list all their highs and lows, pros and cons. And then I want you to list all your key people that are still with you and do the same thing. List their highs and lows and their pros and cons. And then what I want you to do is, pick the top 5 highs and the top 5 lows of every one of those individuals who have left, and then every one of those individuals that are still with you. Basically, if you haven't figured this out already, you're putting together a picture of the employees that you want to hire, the personality or the attitude of the employees that you want to hire, and then also the employees that you should not hire. Because when you look at those lows in both categories, you're going to see that they're very, very, very similar. So those types of people do not work out in your company. But if you look at the highs, they're also very similar. Those are the types of people that stick. Those are the types of people you're looking for. So you build questions around those types of descriptions. You build those questions around the highs, and you can also build questions around the lows. Find out if they're lows. But anyway, that was just something for us to do. We did it. It was a project in a class that we took. I think I told you I took the transformational leadership class with Ford Taylor. It was a 7-day class, big investment for us, but hopefully it's going to be a great investment for us. So far, so good. We learned a lot, but that was we probably took 2 hours on that, listing highs and lows of people who have left and highs and lows that people are still here. I'll tell you, it was a tough one. Was there any people on your team right now that needs to go? That's tough. That's a tough one, but you've got to think about it. Okay. Okay, well, hey, I hope all this helped you. And before we wrap up, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing it on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Keep listening, because it's stuff like this that makes your business more successful. It makes your team stronger. And as always, it helps you sleep better at night. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. And be sure to tune in next week when we discuss holding yourself accountable. I've had several people on our Iron Sharpens Iron Facebook page ask, could you give us a list of how we hold ourselves accountable? So that's what I want to talk about next week. But as always, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Carry on, and I'll see you next week.